Welcome to Masterful Visions. I'm your host, Zebediah Barrett. Today we're joined by a dear friend, Geoff Hartley. Geoff, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Would you mind telling the people a little bit about yourself really quick?
I guess I should introduce myself rather than give my credentials. My name's Geoff Hartley. Zeb and I met in college. I have a degree in mass communications with an emphasis in film and video. I love watching movies, and also I'm a big nerd, so that also helps with the whole
the biggest nerd.
Yeah, one of them. I wouldn't call myself the biggest. I think that one goes to someone else out there has got to be bigger nerd than me, but I'll take the title of a big nerd, not the biggest. But yeah, I love watching film. I love talking about it and just kind of discussing the things that film, brings to the table and how it impacts us.
Sweet. Well, for those who might not know Geoff and I, Geoff is actually the reason I even know about Wes Anderson, thanks to film club in college.
Yeah, I led film club for 2 or 3 semesters. It was a good run there. And
the whole half-hour credit course.
Yeah, baby. You get a half an hour of credit for sitting and watching a movie every week or so. So that was pretty sweet. And then
why do you think I joined?
Exactly. Why do you think I led it? I was like, I just get to watch some movies. Yeah, it was a good time, and I think it was the first semester of film club that I led. It was just kind of a hodgepodge. It wasn't dedicated to one director. Later semesters we did director focused semesters, but the first semester we did all sorts of stuff, different genres, and Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel was one of the films that we watched, and it's one of my favorites of his. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about another of my favorites of his first bout into stop motion animation, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
See, I wasn't 100% that it was stop motion when I started this podcast. I had a feeling that it was, but it's so detailed, it's hard to believe it's stop motion.
Yeah, it is. And well, that's kind of the thing with stop motion is you have complete control. Well, really all animation, but you have total control of everything that is in the image. And so, you watch a Wes Anderson film, and the biggest characteristic that stands out from his style is the precision of it. And so I feel like it's kind of a natural evolution for him to go into stop motion, because there's that precision that you can get with it. And so this was his first stop motion film, but then later he did Isle of Dogs, which I actually like. I like it even better than Fantastic Mr. Fox for several reasons. Most of them are completely biased because I'm a dog person. So obviously,
it's one of the reasons I covered it before we did this podcast.
Yeah, it's that's a good one. But yeah, one of the just a fun fact. This is my fun little factoid about
your little 2 cents.
My little factoid. It's like a little quick. This is like what you'd find on the fact page of IMDb. The reason that in this and Isle of Dogs. The reason that the hair, the fur on each character kind of is a little strange and moves kind of strangely all the time is because Wes Anderson insisted on using real animal fur rather than synthetic.
No way.
Yeah. And the animators were like, well, we're going to get this weird motion because it's not going to stay the same in every shot. And he was like, no, I like that. And so he wanted it to be actual animal fur from real animals. I actually got my start in making videos with Lego stop motion videos that were just awful.
I remember you showing me those.
Yeah, I've shown you those. Oh, those are staying in the vault though. But like stop motion, so even though I did it very, very poorly back when I was a wee lad, I can look at a film like that and know, oh my goodness, all the details that go into that. And so it's a feat. Every stop motion film that you see it's its own marvel in and of itself, in my opinion.
So other than details, or including details, in your opinion, what is it that captures Wes Anderson in the film Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Well, I mean, obviously the visual style and just how symmetry is used in the frame and sort of that flatness of the backgrounds is very Wes Anderson. You'll see that in a ton of his films. More and more as his filmography goes on, you'll see, like, in most cinema, you want the subject to be in focus and the background to be out of focus. But you'll notice in a lot of Wes Anderson films, everything's in focus and it seems very flat, and it's very theatrical looking, but it fits very well because his dialogue is also very theatrical in nature, where it's not natural, but it is entertaining, and it gets the story and the feel across, where it's like, okay, this doesn't feel real, but it doesn't have to, because it's telling the story in this way. It's like you go to a play,
right?
A play isn't real, but you go to a movie and it feels real. Well, it's kind of straddling the line between a play and a movie, a lot of Wes Anderson's stuff, and that's plain to see in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
So I know you're a dialogue guy.
Yeah.
Is dialogue a factor that is part of the reason this movie is so notable?
Yes. I mean, Wes Anderson dialogue is going to be, like I said, that theatrical. I don't want to say stilted. Because it's not. It's not supposed to be realistic dialogue. Like, you're not a conversation in a Wes Anderson film you're not going to hear that conversation on the street. It's different. But what sets Fantastic Mr. Fox apart, in my mind, and in my opinion, is that it's a film that's actually, it's really for everyone. It's not a kid's movie that's trying to appeal to adults so that they can tolerate it. And it's not an adult movie that's appropriate for kids because it doesn't have too much content in it. It really is a story that everyone can identify with and learn from. You know, you take Mr. Fox, his whole thing is he's going through a midlife crisis because he quit doing the thing that he loved doing in order to settle down with his family and provide for them. And then Ash, his son, is going through puberty. And I mean, I don't know if you remember middle school, but man, that is middle school is hell, man. It is awful. And so just
remember it a little too well.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could forget a lot of that. And so like that's a big, he's figuring out, okay, you know, he wants to be an athlete and he's not quite. He's different.
Trying to fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's trying to be someone he's not. And that's kind of the theme, is trying to be someone you're not, between Ash and Mr. Fox. And then Christopherson is also in his own category. Something terrible is happening to his dad is very sick, and now he's in this place that he doesn't really know. These are his distant relatives. He doesn't really know these people, and Ash is very combative, and he's trying to make friends. And even though he's athletic and kind of has these natural abilities, he's still going through this thing. They didn't save him. And so, no matter what, kind of stage of life you're in, I feel like Fantastic Mr. Fox, there's something you can kind of identify with and even learn from, because all these characters kind of have an arc to them where they grow. They're not the same the same animals they were at the start of the film.
And for those who are wondering, the movie is actually rated PG, so if you did want to watch it as a family, totally fine.
Yep. I don't believe there's any curse words. I believe there's the most inappropriate thing is there's mild drinking, and that's pretty much it. Literally,
spoiler alert: a dog does die.
Does that? Hang on. Do they die?
just the one that they spoilers again. Just the one that they poison.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't think I didn't think they. Okay. I'm trying to remember.
Dog died.
Okay. Well, these things happen.
It's you're right. It's yeah.
The stop motion dog does die in the movie. But
right.
It's not,
no animals were harmed in the making of this film.
Except the ones that they ripped the fur off of. Wes Anderson himself went and grabbed a big fox that was alive and ripped his fur off. No, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. That's slanderous. I can't say that.
You kind of mentioned, Geoff, the theatrical side of things.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, once again, I feel like every Wes Anderson film uses rule of thirds, uses symmetry, uses that limited color palette. There's almost very little variation in his films other than plot and storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that there's a technique used in this film that might make it different to other Wes Anderson movies?
Other than stop motion?
Correct.
Not particularly, which isn't really a bad thing. But
no, that's what I'm trying to get across to the audience listening is if you've grasped the idea of all these movies we've covered, this is the last episode of the series. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to go watch Asteroid City that's coming out in June and be like, oh yeah, clearly Wes Anderson.
Yeah. In fact, you can watch the trailer and you can see, oh yeah, that is so Wes Anderson. It's based on the trailer. It's going to be the most Wes Anderson movie ever, which is again not a bad thing. It looks like a delightful film, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing it.
So let's we'll get back to our actual conversation, but I just wanted to chime in and briefly talk about the trailer. For those who haven't seen the trailer, the movie's titled Asteroid City. It's set in 1955 in a desert town, and it's appearing like it's going to follow something world-changing that happens during a junior stargazer or space cadet convention. But looking at the trailer, it's going to be a classic Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
With pastel colors, obviously. The great color contrast between the different settings. I don't know if you noticed that. Like when the split screen is what I'm talking about. You can see the clear difference in color palette. Has a great cast as always.
Yep. Very star-studded. Usually.
Yes.
You got your regulars like Bill Murray and Jeff Goldblum. But like Steve Carell,
Scarlett Johansson.
Yep. Like there's some star power in this now. which, I mean, Wes Anderson films are relative to, you know, Hollywood blockbusters, fairly low budget. You know, most of, I think, I think all of his films have been on Fox Searchlight, which is kind of like their
Correct.
more indie film kind of department in Fox Studios, 20th Century Fox Studios. And so they've kind of been more low key. And so it's nice to see like, so, oh, wow, that's a lot of big names in this.
Right. Well, now, and I feel like now, it's kind of been talked about, but Anderson has that reputation now, that actors actually want to be in his films.
Sure.
And I think it's just my opinion. His films are so offbeat, so away from the Hollywood norm that it's kind of a refresher for these actors and actresses. It's almost like a vacation without being a vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine, and you know, acting for a Wes Anderson movie is not the same as acting for a film, like a normal film, and it's also not the same as acting for like a normal play, and so it's probably nice to kind of try and flex their you know, acting muscles and trying something, you know, new, because I mean, you act long enough and it's like, okay, it's just another movie or it's just another play and it's not new. And a lot of
it's almost an opportunity to test their skills for
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So just briefly, the last thing I was going to say is that if the music in the movie is anything like that was in the trailer, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to watching Asteroid City in theaters.
Let me get back on topic. I want to finish our time out together, Geoff. Just by asking a simple question to you. Why is Anderson one of your favorites?
In my opinion, Anderson straddles that line of being weird without being too weird. It's weird and like this is very interesting and very well done, but very different than what I'm used to, rather than just being like, you know, abstract, weird, off the rails. Okay, this is just, you know, random and strange. It's a sort of strangeness of how he tells the story, rather than, you know, the stories are just off the rails and you don't understand what's going on. You know, you always understand what's going on in one of his films, which I think is important, because it's like a lot of like newer indie directors will just try and confuse the audience. Even some like
I'm just going to throw this out there really quick. Arrival?
Yeah.
I had to watch it like 6 times because it did not make any sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a certain kind of film that works for, like the rewatchability value of it for like a mystery or a thriller. But in most situations, in most stories, that doesn't really work. You need to know what's going on and to be engaged and to actually care about the characters. And so being able to tell these stories in a way that's unique and strange, but in an intriguing way and not in an obnoxious way, I think he really strikes a chord with the way that he tells those stories.
Okay. Well, Geoff, thanks for being on today, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
This episode concludes the series on Wes Anderson until the release of Asteroid City. That being said, I hope you've all enjoyed learning more about the one and only Wes Anderson and his unique and memorable directing style. I appreciate each and every one of you that's stuck it out and been a part of this journey so far. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll begin Series 2 and start to learn about a new director, Martin Scorsese. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon on Masterful Visions.